If I stopped you on the street and asked, have you ever read the Qur'an from beginning to end with understanding? Most people would say something like, of course, I've read it many times. But here's the uncomfortable truth. When researchers actually ask believers if they have read a translation with understanding and not just recited the original language, the percentage drops to a tiny minority dot, so we end up with a paradox. Millions of people claim the Qur'an is the literal word of God. Millions of people are ready to argue, fight, even kill over interpretations. But only a small fraction have actually sat down, read it from cover to cover, compared translations, checked context, and asked, what is this book really saying? In this episode of the Truth Archives, we're not here to insult anyone's faith. We're not here to tell you what to believe. We're going to do something da telekeli. We're going to read. We're going to think. We're going to question. We'll ask, how did the Qur'an actually become a book? Does it really say the previous scriptures were corrupted, like most people repeat? Who is talking when the text says I, we, and he? Why does this holy book sound at times like a cosmic war report, with advanced weapons, restricted zones, and a council in the sky? And most disturbing of all, is the Qur'an purely divine, purely human? Or something coming from non-human intelligences using religion as an interface? At the end, you won't hear me say, leave your religion or follow my ideology. Instead, I'll ask you to do the one thing almost nobody does. Read the book yourself, with your own eyes, with your own mind. Welcome to the Truth Archives. Let's start with a simple question most believers can't answer. How did the Qur'an become the book you can buy in a store today? Many people imagine a very clean, mystical picture. On a holy night, a complete leather-bound copy gently descends from the sky, ready-made, perfectly bound, untouchable, unchanged. The reality is much messier. According to classical Islamic sources, the process looked more like this. The revelations begin through Gabriel to Muhammad. They come piece by piece over 23 years. They're not written in a single notebook. Instead, bits and pieces are memorized by companions and scribbled on bones, leather, palm leaves, random scraps, whatever people can find. Think about 23 years of scattered notes in human memory. No central archive, no printing press, no Google Drive of revelation. Then the prophet dies. Wars break out. People who had memorized large portions of the Qur'an are killed in battle. Suddenly, the early leadership realizes, if we don't gather this now, parts of it might be lost forever. So under the first caliph, a committee is formed. The main scribe, Zayd ibn Thabit, is told to collect the Qur'an. How? By literally going around and asking, do you have any verses written down? Do you remember something? If 2 witnesses swear that a verse is genuine, it's accepted into the official collection. This already raises serious questions. What about verses remembered by only one person? What about verses written down but with no witnesses left alive? What about disagreements in word order or wording? Years later, another crisis emerges. Different regions are reciting the Qur'an in different ways. Conflicts break out. People accuse each other of reading the wrong Qur'an. The third caliph decides to fix this once and for all. One official version is written. Copies are sent out to major cities. And all other personal codices and variants are ordered to be burned. So when people confidently say, this book has never been touched, altered or politically filtered. They are repeating a dogma, not a historical process. The point is not the Quran is fake. The point is, the history of the Quran is far more human, fragile, and political than most people are comfortable admitting. And that's just the beginning. Many people think the Qur'an and its 600 pages of completely unique content, every page brand new information, sophisticated philosophy, deep mysticism. But when you actually read it, something becomes obvious very quickly. The Qur'an is a book of echoes, the same stories, the same warnings, the same threats, over and over and over again. Moses, for example, appears everywhere. His confrontation with Pharaoh, his people crossing the sea, their disobedience afterwards, these aren't told once. They're told dozens and dozens of times, in slightly different forms, scattered across different chapters. The destruction of past nations, like D, Thamd, and others. Again and again, almost like a looped alarm. A prophet comes. People ignore him. They mock him. They are destroyed by a sudden disaster from the sky. Then you have verses that are totally local and context-based. Rules about entering the prophet's house, specific issues with his wives, family drama between named individuals, political instructions for a tribe in a desert 1400 years ago. If you strip away the repeated threats of hell, the repeated rewards of paradise, the repeated stories of Moses, Noah, Abraham, the repeated formulas and phrases, you end up with a book that, in terms of unique content, is much shorter than it appears. Again, that doesn't disprove the book, but it does break the myth that every verse is some completely new, never before seen cosmic revelation. Sometimes it feels less like a divine encyclopedia and more like a broadcast signal, repeating key narratives over and over to imprint them into the minds of a specific people in a specific era. But the real shock comes when we ask, why do so many people believe that the previous scriptures were corrupted, when the Qur'an itself doesn't clearly say that at all? If you ask most Muslims today why the Qur'an was revealed, you'll hear the same line. Because the Jews and Christians changed their books. The Torah and the Gospel were corrupted. So God sent the final pure book. Now, let's compare that to what the Qur'an actually says. You find verses where the Torah is called a book of guidance and light. The Gospel is described as containing guidance and light. The Qur'an describes itself as confirming and guarding the earlier revelations, not deleting them, not mocking them, not calling them fairy tales. You also find this powerful statement: no one can change the words of God. If God's words cannot be changed, how can entire scriptures supposedly be rewritten, corrupted, and ruined by human hands? What the Qur'an criticizes is not the paper, the ink, or the original revelation. It criticizes what some clergy say about it, how they twist meanings, how they hide parts they don't like, and how they misinterpret verses to gain control. So the popular slogan, "The previous books are corrupted, that's why we need the Qur'an," is not a Quranic teaching. It's a later dogma repeated so many times that people mistake it for revelation. The Qur'an's own claim is completely different. There's one continuous stream of revelation, multiple messengers, one core religion, submission to the one. Call it Islam, surrender, Tawhid, whatever term you like. In other words, the Qur'an doesn't say, everything before me is trash. It says, what I'm telling you now is the same truth that was sent again. and again. But you people keep messing it up. So if the problem has always been human manipulation, political distortion, and blind obedience, why are we so sure that the same thing didn't happen after the Qur'an? To answer that, we have to look at a disturbing pattern inside the book itself, the strange dance of I, we, and he. When you read the Qur'an carefully, you notice something very strange with the pronouns. Sometimes the speaker says, I, sometimes we, sometimes he. Traditional scholars usually explain this by saying, we is a majestic plural. He is when the narrator speaks about God. I is God speaking directly. But when you actually track the logic within single verses, that explanation starts to crack. You see verses where, in the same sentence, the voice shifts between, we did this, God did that, he is such and such, almost like a council speaking about a higher authority that they themselves serve. Imagine this structure. We gave this prophet miracles. God raised some above others. We strengthened one of them with the Holy Spirit. Who is we? Who is God in that sentence? Why does the speaker change perspective, like a narrator describing another being above them? If, instead of assuming the answer, you simply read what the text itself implies, a different picture emerges. I and he often refer to the supreme source, the ultimate creator. We frequently behaves like a collective, a force, a group of beings who act, carry out decrees, destroy nations, guide, misguide, and deliver messages. In other words, the Qur'anic, we, often behaves like a non-human administration, what we would today call an advanced civilization, or if you prefer religious language, an angelic council. This is the same pattern we see in other ancient texts. In the book of Enoch, in Mesopotamian myths about the Anunnaki, in various traditions about heavenly councils deciding the fate of nations. The Qur'an is not just a monologue of God. It reads more like a transcript of a complex communication system, a supreme source, a council or group that says we, messengers like Gabriel, transmitting to a human prophet. And once you see that, verses about jinn, flaming missiles, and restricted airspace over the heavens suddenly sound a lot less like fairy tales, and a lot more like security protocols in a cosmic military base. There is a chapter in the Qur'an where the jinn, those unseen beings made of smokeless fire, are allowed to speak. They describe something fascinating. They say that once upon a time, they could go up to certain regions of the sky, sit in specific spots, and listen in on the high assembly, the heavenly council. But then something changed. Suddenly the sky is filled with strong guards, patrolled by flaming projectiles, and any jinn who tries to get close is shot down by a piercing flame. Even classical scholars admit this is not poetry. This is presented as factual from the perspective of those beings. Now, put aside the fantasy filter for a moment. Imagine someone in the 7th century trying to describe orbital defense platforms, energy weapons, a no-fly zone enforced by automated systems. What would they say? Probably something very close to, whenever we tried to approach, missiles of fire chased us. Add to that other verses where it says, the nearest heaven is adorned with lamps, and those lamps are used as missiles against rebellious devils. Again, you can treat this as mythology. Or you can ask a more dangerous question. Are these verses describing a structured, technological reality in symbolic language? If the Qur'an's universe is populated by a high council, enforcer beings, lower beings like jinn who can move through dimensions, and a restricted sky guarded by weapons, then we are not looking at a simple fairy tale about angels with wings. We're looking at a multi-layered civilization structure with clear hierarchies, laws, and punishments. And that deeper pattern continues when the text describes what happens down here, on Earth, to civilizations that cross the line. The Quran repeatedly talks about entire societies being wiped off the map, not by slow natural processes, not by normal wars, by sudden, targeted, catastrophic strikes. You see descriptions like, a violent blast seized them at sunrise. A terrible scream took them while they were inside their homes. The town was turned upside down and rained upon with stones of baked clay. Traditional explanations often say, earthquake, thunder, volcanic eruption, maybe a storm, but notice the details. People are caught in their sleep or in the middle of their daily routine. The event is described like a precision strike, not a random natural disaster. Afterwards, those regions are portrayed as cursed zones, places not to be inhabited again. Now connect that to, we destroyed them. Our punishment came from above. We rained down marked stones, layer upon layer. Once again, the pronoun is we, the same collective that operates the sky defense system. To a modern reader, it's hard not to think of directed energy weapons, sonic devices that can shatter structures, rocks heated or formed by advanced technology, deliberate terraforming or sterilization of an area. In this reading, the angels are not baby-faced creatures with wings. They are operators in a system capable of enforcing laws, eliminating threats, resetting civilizations. Is it any surprise, then, that this same system seems obsessed with controlling knowledge? Because the story is always the same. A group learns too much. They break the rules. They start acting like gods themselves. The reset button is pushed, and you can still see the fingerprints of that control in how the Qur'an deals with gender, power, and paradise. Let's look at something many people are afraid to touch: women in the Qur'an. Even if you believe totally in the divinity of the text, you cannot deny one thing. The Qur'an speaks in a strongly male-centered voice. Commands, promises, and narratives are mostly addressed to men who believe, men who spend, men who fight, men who marry. Men are given permission to marry multiple women under certain conditions, own concubines, and have sexual access to them. Exercise authority as protectors and maintainers. Women, on the other hand, are warned repeatedly about obeying, are regulated in dress, behavior, speech, inheritance, and testimony, rarely addressed as independent moral agents in the same tone as men. Then we look at paradise. What is promised? Gardens beneath which rivers flow, cushions, carpets, palaces, intoxicating drinks without hangovers, and over again, pure companions, wide-eyed maidens, ever-virgin partners, youthful servants that look like scattered pearls. The imagery is very clear. Paradise is essentially designed as a reward package for men. You can try to reinterpret, you can spin, you can philosophize, but the text is what it is. So we have to ask, is this the timeless language of an infinite creator? Or is it the language of a very specific culture, blended with something greater behind it? Because remember, We already saw that the message passes through non-human intermediaries, a human prophet, a specific time and place, a particular mindset and social structure. Maybe that's why the Qur'an itself warns against turning religion into factions. But humans did exactly that immediately after. The Qur'an states clearly that religion should not be split into sects and factions. It criticizes earlier communities for dividing after knowledge came, creating parties, each group happy with what they have, hating and fighting others. And yet, what happened with the followers of the Qur'an? Political struggles after the Prophet's death, civil wars between companions, assassinations, competing claims of leadership, and eventually, a fracturing into sects and subsects. Then comes another layer, hadith literature, tens of thousands of reports, sayings, stories, legal opinions, political justifications. Many people today believe you cannot understand the Qur'an without hadith. In other words, the book that calls itself clear, the book that claims to be guidance, the book revealed in people's own language so they can understand it, is somehow not enough on its own. So religious authorities become the gatekeepers of meaning. Don't read it by yourself. Don't think by yourself. Don't compare translations. Just follow our school, our sect, our imam. But the Qur'an's very first command is, read not. Listen blindly. Outsource your conscience. Switch off your brain and let someone else drive. So we're back to the same pattern we saw with earlier scriptures. A message descends. A community receives it. Power structures form around it. The message is weaponized, filtered, repackaged. The question is, what was the original message? And who or what sent it? Let's put all the pieces on the table. The Qur'an claims to come from a non-human source, through non-human messengers, to a human prophet. It confirms earlier revelations rather than annihilating them. It describes a cosmic council, a restricted sky, and a clash of intelligences, angels, jinn, devils, unseen forces. It hints at other living beings in the heavens and the earth that may one day be gathered together. It speaks in a language shaped by 7th century Arabian culture. It contains patterns that echo much older myths from other civilizations. It was compiled by human hands, through human memories, under human politics, with human decisions about what stays and what burns. So what are the options? Option 1. Purely human fiction. A desert genius wrote it. People mythologized it. The rest is history. Option 2. Purely divine speech. Every letter is timeless, untouched, perfect, independent of history and culture. Option 3. A transmission from non-human intelligences filtered through a human mind and human society. In this view, the source is real. The intermediaries are real. The prophet is sincere. But what we have now is both signal and noise, both revelation and residue, both eternal and contextual. Personally, I lean toward the third scenario. I don't believe a tribal politician in the desert simply invented this. The patterns are too deep, the sync with other ancient accounts too consistent, the psychological and social impact too massive. But I also don't believe that every word in every printed copy today is the untouched voice of the ultimate creator of all universes. It looks a lot more like a cosmic interface, something or someone out there trying to shape human civilization, pushing us in certain directions, limiting our access to knowledge, resetting us when we go too far, and using religion as a control system, sometimes for our protection, sometimes for our containment. Where does the true Creator fit into this picture? Beyond all names, beyond all books, beyond all factions. The Qur'an itself hints at this when it talks about a reality beyond imagination, a Lord beyond description, a realm no eye has seen and no heart can fully grasp. Maybe all of these books, all of these revelations, are just shadows on the wall, pieces of a puzzle we're not ready to solve yet. But there is one thing you can do right now. Without a priest, imam, rabbi, or scholar, you can read. If you're still watching, you've already proven something about yourself. You're not afraid to question. So here's my challenge to you. Take a translation of the Qur'an in a language you truly understand. Use more than one translation if you can. Keep a notebook. Whenever you see something that shocks you, confuses you, or feels contradictory, write it down. Check commentaries. Compare with older scriptures. Ask, is this divine, human, or something else? Don't let anyone, including me, think on your behalf. Because if you don't read, if you don't question, if you don't think, someone else will happily do it for you. And when you let others control what you believe, you're not a seeker anymore. You're a product. So I'll leave you with this question, and I genuinely want to see your answers in the comments. What do you think the Qur'an really is? Purely divine, purely human, or a transmission from something in between? Drop your theory below. I read as many as I can. If you found this episode of the Truth Archives useful, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notifications so you don't miss the next deep dive. Until next time, take care of yourself and never stop searching for the truth.